douchebag puts out a program, somebody pays for it, they train, they do everything to the T, their intensity is there, they do the training, do the eating, but they will never look like him. So, natural training versus enhanced training. Is there a difference? Well, Greg Doucette doesn't seem to think so. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before we get started, make sure you guys go down and show that love by tapping that like button, because let's face it, we're going to forget to talk about it and do it later. So let's just tap it now and jump right in. So first of all, this critique is going to be a little different than what you guys are probably used to with my recent Insta-Garbage videos. In those videos, I tend to get a little overboard because the passion really comes through on those videos. And the passion is coming from a place where people are trying to take advantage of you with bullshit routines and bad advice and improper form on exercising, whether it's on YouTube or on Instagram. And I gotta admit, when I first started watching Greg's video, I was immediately triggered because the first thing that he said is that
you don't win a special prize for being natural. Nobody cares. I don't care. You don't care. Your friends don't care. Nobody cares.
So of course, I'm gonna get triggered. Why? Because I am a 100% natural lifetime athlete, and I talk about this a lot, and it's not to use it as an excuse or a clutch to not be as big as someone on gear. Like, clearly I'm not going to be as big as someone on gear. That's not what I want to be, which is why I never went on steroids. To me, the reason why it's so important to tell you guys that I'm not enhanced is so that when I'm offering you advice based on my workout programs and the way I train and the gains that I'm making, you know that it's going to work for you. Because if it worked for me, and I'm a 100% lifetime natural athlete, you can trust that it's probably going to work for you as well. Now, am I saying that people on steroids don't know what they're talking about or don't know how to put together workout programs for a natural athlete? Of course I'm not saying that, guys. That's just kind of ridiculous to even think that. But there are people out there that claim to be Natty that aren't, that do put out bullshit programs that will not work for you because they don't really know how to structure a program because they've been on juice for so long that pretty much anything they do, they're going to build muscle. And the workouts that they do are going to be drastically different than what you do for a variety of reasons. One of those main reasons being is that they are anabolic all the time. Just to let you guys know, the average person's testosterone level for males is about 250 to 1200 nanograms per deciliter. So let's say the majority of you guys fall in that mid-range where you're about 600 nanograms per deciliter. You start taking steroids, start taking tren, whatever the hell you want to take, you're going to go from 600 to 4,000 to 5,000. Now, some of you guys might say, wow, that sounds great. I should jump on right now. Don't get too ahead of yourself. There are major risks involved, and if you want to learn all about them, you can watch this video here. It's an unbiased video that just talks about the risks that come with taking steroids that can or can't happen, and you should be well informed before making any of those decisions. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about Greg talking about natural versus enhanced training and if there's a difference. And he basically says that there isn't. And I had to watch the entire video, and then I also watched part 2 to really understand what Greg was trying to say. Because obviously, a lot of people watch my videos when I talk about stuff, and they'll watch up until the point they get triggered, and then they'll just, bullshit in the comment section and basically just word garbage everything that comes to mind without watching the entire video and trying to actually see the conclusion of the things I'm trying to say, which 9 times out of 10 is usually what they're complaining about. If they had just watched the entire video, they would have understood my point. So I wasn't going to do that to Greg. I'm not going to just judge him based on the first 10 seconds of his video saying no one cares that I'm a natural athlete or not. But it's not Insta-Garbage. I'm not attacking Greg. I just want to talk about my point of view versus his point of view, which is where this difference is coming from. From Greg's point of view, obviously Greg has built a phenomenal physique over the years. Of course, he's enhanced. He talks about it. That doesn't matter. Just because you're enhanced doesn't mean you don't train hard. I know plenty of people that do take steroids that look like shit because they don't train hard. They think the drug's going to do all the work for them. That's not how it works. Even when I was a kid, I idolized Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did a book report on him in 7th grade, and what inspired me to get into weightlifting from him wasn't necessarily how big he was. It didn't matter to me that he was on steroids. When I did my book report on him, one of the things I remember the most from his biography was that he would literally go to the gym and squat until he passed out, and then when he woke up an hour or so later, he'd start squatting again. Like, that is the kind of intensity you need to build a physique like Arnold had, whether you're enhanced or not, okay? And that's what was inspiring to me. Natural athletes, you guys can take your training to a whole new level that you probably didn't even know existed, and that's the point that I feel that Greg is trying to make. He talks a lot about how naturals complain to him all the time, I can't get big because I'm natural, I can't squat heavy because I'm natural, I can't bench more because I'm natural, and they use it as an excuse or a clutch. And I think years and years of this, of Greg hearing this, has made him a little bitter towards natural athletes, or those of us who claim to be lifetime naturals, because he sees us using that as an excuse not to train hard. And I can agree with that. I know a lot of people who claim they can't make gains, and I look at their workout program and I look at their eating schedule and their sleeping, and it's very obvious why they're not making gains, because they don't have a good program, they're not sleeping enough, and they're not eating enough food, and they're not training hard enough. In fact, one of the biggest challenges I have when I have my online clients is teaching them how to train with intensity. And intensity can be more sets, more reps, more weight, training more times throughout the week. And then the biggest one is knowing what it feels like to be at that point where you're pushing limits and not going to injure yourself, right? It's a lot different having somebody there with you in the gym, teaching you and coaching you, versus doing it online. And usually it's not until I start getting videos of proper form from my clients where I can start to finally interject and be like, all right, okay, that arm curl you're doing, it looks like you could, read a book while you're doing it. You got to increase the weight. You got to have more intensity. Keep the same rep range. Increase the weight. Be more intense. You're not going to get hurt. The muscle soreness that you're feeling is natural. And it's really hard to get people to push through those thresholds because they're not used to it. And that's fine. That's what coaching is all about. And Greg always starts off his video saying, I'm Coach Greg, which to me says that he probably coaches a lot of people. I know recently he started coaching Brandon Harding, who, as you guys know, I think is the biggest tool bag piece of trash garbage athlete out there, because he promotes the use of steroid usage, and then he talks about how he doesn't give a shit if any of you do what he does and you end up fucking yourself over for the rest of your life, which, if you didn't see that video, that was an Insta-GAHHHBAGE, and I have the text to prove what he said, so make sure you go watch that. Anyways, we disagree on that, Greg. I wouldn't be training Brandon and giving him any more notoriety than he already has, because he doesn't care about his community, and I think that's a huge downfall. And from watching these two videos from you so far, Greg, to me, it looks like you really do care about your community and you have a lot of passion for bodybuilding, and you're just sick and tired of people coming to you saying, I can't build muscle because I'm natural, and you see it more as an excuse to train hard, which is why in the video you talk about all the time, naturals say, what can I do to get bigger? And you say, train hard. And then they say, well, I already train hard. And then you say, train harder. And I get where you're coming from. But then you started kind of generalizing a little too much for me. And I think this is the difference between my outlook on bodybuilding and training people versus yours. And what you have to understand, Greg, is for someone like me, I don't talk about being a 100% lifetime natural athlete like in such a way where I'm tooting my own horn. When I say that, there's a few other things that it comes with. For example, when someone like Simone Panda says, I'm a 100% lifetime natural athlete, give me your money, here's my program and my meal plan, to me that really pisses me off, because we know, well, I can't say we know, in my opinion, he's not 100% lifetime natural athlete. And for those of you who say he's just blessed with amazing genetics, well, look at all the other 100% lifetime natural athletes that he hangs out with. I find it very odd that all these super naturally blessed people just happen to find each other and hang out all the time, okay? Like, ignorance is bliss, all right? But for someone like me, I get pissed because Douchebag puts out a program, somebody pays for it, they train, they do everything to the T, their intensity is there, they do the training, do the eating, but they will never look like him. And so it puts this false sense of what's achievable in their head, which can lead to body dysmorphia, or worst of all, well, I guess no, body dysmorphia is pretty bad, but it could also lead to them just quitting the gym altogether, because what is the point if I'm never going to look like this guy and that's how I want to look? So when you tell people you're natural when you're not, what you're really doing is you're just setting them up for failure, in my opinion. Just be honest about it. I have a lot of friends that don't claim to be natural. Most people just keep their mouths shut because at the end of the day, whether you're natural or not, that has nothing to do with how intelligent you are, has nothing to do with how intense you train. You can be just as intelligent and train just as hard whether you're natural or enhanced. It just comes down to marketing and promotion and being money hungry and trying to lie to people to make more money. That's my beef with it. The other part of that is, and I talked about this when I was doing my Insta-GAHHHBAGE video on Brandon Hardening, I don't know, he started juicing when he was like 19 years old, and he basically said something like, I hit my natural potential at 19. Are you, like, just think about that sentence for a second. Your natural potential, you've reached your natural peak at 19 years old, and you had already been training for a couple of years. Like, are you out of your friggin' mind, dude? That makes absolutely no sense. You're still wet behind the ears at that point in your life. We don't even fully mature until we hit like late 20s, early 30s. And the problem is, like, even my gym, the gym that I go to, I see so many young guys that are already juicing up because asshats like this make it seem so cool and okay to do. And I watch them train, Greg, and they train, for use of a better term, like little bitches, all right? They're really weak, and all they do is just fluff and puff, which you did mention in your video, like, oh, you take steroids and you fluff and puff. I don't think you train like that, Greg, and that's where the disconnect is. You're coming, look at how you look, all right, bro? Look how you look in the mirror. You're huge, you're jacked. Clearly, you don't fluff and puff train. You take it very seriously, you compete, you train other athletes, you train other big bodybuilders. So in your head, when you talk about steroids and those things, you're still training just as hard. And that's where you're coming from. That's how you've been able to build the physique that you have, right? But when you get a guy who, you know, let's say he's my height, 5'10", I'm 180 pounds right now, right? I think I look pretty great. My body fat's probably like 11, 12%, maybe as low as like 9 or 10 if I add a bit more cardio in. But I train very hard. I go to the gym 4 or 5, maybe even 6 days a week. I do 4 to 5 mile runs a few days a week outside. I know how to take care of my body because I've trained for so long. I've been training since I was 14 years old. I just turned 35 October 18th. I've been training so long that my progression has been train, you know, we talk about newbie gains, right? And I'm sure you know about this. You may have even talked about this. That first year that you train, if you do it perfectly, you can gain 20 to 25 pounds of muscle. Your second year, you can gain like 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. Third year, 8 to 12. Your fourth year, 2 to 3. Then every year after your fourth year, you're going to gain maybe 1 to 2 pounds of muscle max. That's just how it is. So whether you've been training 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, there is a point where you hit your natural limit, and then you need to start getting a bit more creative with your training if you start to plateau. And that's how it's basically been for me. Now, I will admit, when I first started working out, I just had a bench in the basement, and I would just bench and curl every single day because I was 14 and I wanted to work out, right? No, actually, no. That was when I was 12. I found my dad's old weight equipment when I was 12. I started working at a gym when I was 14. And back then, there was no YouTube. There was no internet to like go on and look stuff up. There was just muscle magazines and all the other bigger dudes at the gym. And so what do? You learn bro split training, right? Chest and back or chest one day, back one day, arms one day, legs one day, abs one day, repeat. And you can only get so big doing that as a natural athlete. There's these things called growth periods, right? If you want to have more growth periods throughout the week, you need to train a muscle multiple times a week. And we talk about the anabolic window, right? Basically, a muscle is going to stay anabolic or in that growth period for 24 to 36 hours after you train it. That's why if you want to build, let's say your chest is lagging. You want to build a bigger chest and you're a natural athlete, you need to train your chest 2 to 3 times a week to take advantage of multiple growth periods. Now, if you're on gear, you can do a 5-day bodybuilding split and it's still, you're right in a sense where you're going to get the same, let's say the same amount of gains, like relevant to each other, right? But you're going to get a hell of a lot bigger because you're anabolic all the time when you're on gear. Now, will you still get bigger training your chest 3 times a week? when you're enhanced versus natural? Of course you will. All right? The natural athlete trains their chest Monday. It's not going to be hit again till the following Monday, and the anabolic window is going to be closed within 24 to 36 hours. When you're enhanced and your nanograms per deciliter of testosterone of 4,000 to 5,000, you can hit your chest once and then not hit it again till the following week, and you're still going to build a hell of a lot more muscle than the natural athlete. So in terms of training structure, in relation to how much you're going to grow versus how much you train, there is no difference. Whether you're enhanced or not, the more you train, the more you're going to grow. I agree with you on that. But if you are a natural athlete, a 5-day bodybuilding split isn't going to be the best choice for you if you're trying to get super huge, because you need those multiple growth periods. Now, if you're like those dudes I see in my gym, they're not necessarily trying to be massive bodybuilders. They just want to have a physique roughly about my size, maybe a bit bigger, and maybe look lean 24/7. They can get away with doing a 5-day bodybuilding split, doing fluff and puff exercises, because they have a lot more help on the juice side of things. And you see it all the time, and I know you see it, Greg, but in your mind, I mean, I'm just speculating here. In your mind, you're not thinking about those guys. You're thinking about people who want to train hard and want to get big and want to get to your level, where in my mind, or the mind, even other people who are natural athletes, because obviously we talk to each other, we see it in terms of somebody wanting to be a little bit above average and be able to bullshit and not have to do so much work and still go out and party and drink, eat whatever the hell they want. That's why I like that if it fits your macros bullshit was so popular before, because people were eating like fucking Pop-Tarts, and they're like, yeah, look how ripped I am, and I ate these Pop-Tarts. But they don't show you the injections that they're doing as soon as they're done eating that shit food full of artificial flavors and whatever. That's where our anger of this, the anger from us comes from that side of things, all right? In order to be competitor, whether you're Mr. Olympia level or just in general, that size, you have to train hard. And there's no disagreement on that. But then you start generalizing about things like fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers, and how it doesn't matter, and how, you know, if you want to build muscle, you need to be in a 12 to 15 rep range and be doing, your rep should be taking about 40 seconds max. And this is where I feel like this is where we start to really disagree, and I'll explain to you why. Where I talked about before, I've been training since I was 12, started working in a gym when I was 14, became a personal trainer when I was 18, been doing the YouTube thing since I was 24, so I've been around for a while, okay? A lot of you guys think I'm in my early 20s for some reason, which I guess is a good thing. Maybe you think I look young. That's great. I've been around for a while. I've been training people since I was 18 years old. I've seen a lot, done a lot, and in my own experience, every time I've hit a plateau, because I am natural, I've had to do more research and dig deeper. Now, you say in your video that it's actually harder for enhanced athletes to grow because all the studies that are done on building muscle are done on natural athletes. But that kind of goes against what you were saying, if doing the same thing works no matter whether you're enhanced or not. In my opinion, yeah, all these studies are done on natural athletes, but even studies themselves, they're so easy to get a desired outcome is so easy. Granted, I guess with building muscle it's a little different, but you don't know the pool you're picking from, right? You don't know these people's training over the last 10 years, what they've done, what they haven't done. So for example, if you've never trained before, I can put you on a 5-day bodybuilding split, and you can do that for 2 to 3 months, and you're going to build a shitload of muscle quite quickly. But then you're going to plateau because the newbie gains are over, and then you're going to have to do a different type of program in order to get multiple growth periods. And so in these studies, the people that they're using, I think it's just as confusing for natural athletes, because you don't know at what point in this person's bodybuilding journey that they're in when they did build or didn't build a certain amount of muscle pertaining to a specific way of training. You don't know if, okay, I'm going to do this study, so now I'm going to start eating better and sleeping more because I want to do the best I can in this study. Like, there's all these variables that you don't really have any control over, right? So I think studies are a poor excuse. I think for me, because I've been training my entire life this way, whenever I've hit a plateau, I've had to do research, figure out a different way to train in order to get to the next plateau. Unfortunately for you, you haven't been natural for a very long time, and for someone like Brandon, who hit his natural potential at 19, he doesn't know what it's like to truly hit a plateau and then have to work around that and build out a program to work around that plateau. And that's where I get irritated with these guys trying to sell their bullshit training programs, is they haven't trained long enough to know what it's truly like to have to train to bust through a plateau, whether it's changing the entire program, the intensity, or the rep scheme. You talk about how 12 to 15 repetitions is how you need to train in order to build muscle. Well, there's 3 muscle building mechanisms, right? There's mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage. And I talk about this a lot, especially in my only 2 series for building muscle, as well as other videos. For me, I used to always train just high volume because I do have a higher ratio of slow twitch to fast twitch muscle fibers. And you talk about this too, we'll get to that in a second. If you have a higher ratio of slow twitch muscle fiber, you tend to build more muscle by utilizing more volume. If you have a higher ratio of fast twitch muscle fiber, you can get away with doing less reps and more weight and build a bit more muscle that way, okay? But I think whether you're more fast twitch or more slow twitch, I do agree with you, it does get to a point where it doesn't really matter, but I disagree where you say just do 12 to 15 repetitions. When I hit my last plateau, that's when I invented my Cheat and Recover program. And anyone I've had try my Cheat and Recover program who had also hit a plateau, they busted right through it, because my Cheat and Recover program incorporates all 3 muscle building mechanisms, where you're lifting extremely heavy for 8 repetitions, where you focus on heavy eccentrics, and then as soon as you finish, let's say you're doing bicep curls, you're going to use a bit of momentum, or you're going to have a spotter to help you get up or do the concentric of every single repetition, and then you're going to focus on controlling the negative because you're 40% stronger than the negative. So we're able to overload a lot more here. So you do 8 repetitions, super heavy overloading in the negative. As soon as you finish those 8 repetitions, you cut the weight basically in half, and then you do another 8 reps on your own, right? So you're basically doing 8 reps super heavy, but that's going to compound with the following 8 repetitions you're doing with good form, which is essentially combining mechanical tension and metabolic stress in one set, because you're doing high volume with heavy lifting. And for me, I do not grow anymore unless there is some heavy lifting aspect incorporated into my training. And in my only 2 series, that's exactly what you guys see, and that's exactly why many of you have started busting through plateaus. For me, Greg, it's been a combination of mechanical tension and metabolic stress that's been allowed me to grow again, right? Because I hit that plateau. But it's a plateau that I only hit because I'm natural and I was forced to try to find a different way to grow again. And you also start comparing like sprinting versus marathon running to explain fast twitch versus slow twitch, which I really don't agree with either, because sprinters are actually pretty friggin' jacked and they're working on their fast twitch muscle fibers. I do agree with you that if you're a sprinter, you get better at sprinting by sprinting more and working those fast twitch fibers, but sprinters have pretty jacked legs, right? They're doing the fast twitch workouts. Marathon runners, they usually look super thin and tall, right? Because they're running constantly, they're burning a lot of calories, they don't want to have a lot of muscle mass. I don't know, I just think comparing sprinting to bodybuilding in terms of fast twitch versus slow twitch muscle fibers isn't the best comparison, but I do understand the things you're trying to say, and I think that your passion's in the right place, obviously, and you do know what you're talking about in terms of intensity when training. I just think that there is a difference between natural versus enhanced training, but in order to talk about those differences, you would literally have to put somebody like you and somebody like me side by side and discuss these topics, because you're seeing them from a totally different perspective that I'm seeing them from, which I hope I made pretty evident in this video. I would love to see what you guys have to say about this topic down in that comment section below. Have you watched Greg's videos? What do you think about them? Have you watched Greg's videos first and then watched my video and saw things from my point of view? And do you see things a bit differently now? Hey, maybe you think I'm full of shit and I'm wrong. Either way, I want to know down in that comment section. We can debate back and forth. Greg, if you watch my video, by all means, comment down below. Maybe we can have a discussion about this on a live one-on-one video too. I think it would be great. We just won't talk about the fact that you're training Brandon Hardening, who doesn't give a shit about his community. So we'll kind of leave that off to the side and we'll focus on helping people that actually deserve it. And one last thing before we wrap this video up, the first Insta Gold is going to be dropping tomorrow. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you go to your subscription manager, and those notifications are set from occasional to all, because you're not going to want to miss that video. It's actually really exciting. I'm really excited to start the Insta Gold. It's the yin to the yang of Insta Garbage. I'm pretty pumped about it. And the next Insta Garbage video, I'm just going to warn you guys right now, it's intense, okay? So that's going to be coming out, I think, maybe on Sunday. Ricky's like, wants to kill me because of all the editing he has to do in that video. We went to the gym to film some B-roll. I'm like, God, we'll be done with this B-roll in like 30 minutes. 2 hours later, Ricky just wanted to kill me. His camera died. He had to use my iPhone. Luckily, I have the iPhone 11 now, so the video quality still came out good. But anyways, be sure to tap that like button. If you guys want to see more sit-down videos like this where we discuss topics, let me know. And as always, more good stuff coming soon. If this video piqued your interest about my Insta Garbage series, try to get caught up by watching these videos in the playlist over here. And if you want to learn more about mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage, I'm going to link you to my Only 2 series in the bottom over here, because those videos explain why you need to combine heavy weight training and volume in the same workouts in order to maximize your results.